Hey guys, welcome to the video. My name's Olly King and this channel is all about how to make money from your art. For me, this includes things like photography, videography, and graphic design. Now for the last 2 weeks, I was lucky enough to go and visit Beijing. And so I was in China for a couple weeks and I got to experience the amazing hospitality of the Chinese people, and it was just a great vacation for me to go and visit one of my friends who's teaching over there. And of course I went out and took some stock footage and some stock photos because I'm a huge nerd like that and I love to do this. This is one of my big hobbies, so obviously I went out there and I took some pictures. So what I wanted to do with this video is just relay some of the things that worked really well for me that got me some of my favorite photos. And so hopefully when you're on vacation and you get the chance to take some amazing pictures and you get a chance to just pull the camera out, these tips will help guide you and help kind of help you get the best photos that you can possibly get when you're on vacation. Hopefully they're not too generic or anything like that, and hopefully they give you a little bit of guidance when you're shooting. The first tip that I got for you is to take comparative pictures. And what I mean by comparative pictures is that there's going to be a lot of differences obviously between where you are and where you're on vacation. So you want to capture those kinds of images. So for instance, when I was in Beijing, the thing that really stands out there is that it's a massive city, and compared to where I live, you're just seeing buildings and things that you just wouldn't see anywhere else in the world. So I got lots of pictures of just the gigantic concrete apartment buildings, the cityscape downtown, and just the kind of amazing differences in the architectural design. And this means both modern and historical ones that have been restored. There was a lot of amazing things obviously in Beijing because it's such an old city. And so I kind of focused on a lot of the architecture in the area. It was interesting to take pictures of people there because obviously the lifestyle is completely different between a city that has, 20 million people or however many people live in Beijing compared to the city I live in, which is about 1 million people. So it was really interesting to kind of contrast the obvious differences in lifestyle that need to happen when you have, population sizes and just cultural differences that are going to be there. So that's one of the things that I find a great photo to kind of take, is just to focus on the differences and the comparative cultural things that you're not going to see in your own area. And obviously these are going to be the things your eyes are drawn to anyways. So not surprisingly, this would make great photos and great memories for you to take home. Second tip I got for you is to see the world through the eyes of the people who live there. Beijing is just such a cool city, and I used to live in Tokyo for about 1.5 years. So I'm kind of accustomed to living in big cities like that. One of the best, most interesting things to do when you're in a place like that is just to kind of follow the locals around and get into the areas that aren't tourist driven. So in China, for instance, it was really interesting to just go into the suburb areas, take pictures around there. I like to get a lot of pictures of people on bikes and just people going about their daily routines and stuff like that because it's so fascinating and it photographs so well. So it was really interesting to just kind of go into different grocery shops, different marketplaces, and just kind of watch people and see how they do things, because it's obviously so different to how things kind of function in Calgary, where I'm from. Follow the everyday people, try and see the world through their eyes. It's a great chance to get great photos, and it's also just kind of a great way to immerse yourself in the area that you're vacationing in. The third tip that I got for you is to look for images that contrast history with modern stuff that's going on. Now, especially in places that are a bit more old, like Beijing, you're gonna get a lot more history. You're gonna get buildings that are just centuries old, and sometimes even older than that, millennia. So it's really interesting to go out and try and capture photos that kind of have a mix of the modern with the historic. And so I really like taking pictures of people around historic structures, because a lot of the times you'll get interesting images of people using technology in front of buildings that are just decades, millennia old. And so it's really interesting to capture those images because they're just such a stark contrast. It's such an interesting juxtaposition of the old and the new. And so I found it really interesting to do that in Beijing because there's a lot of really high technology there, but there's also that kind of ancient element of the city that's still very much alive there. So I thought it was very interesting to kind of capture that idea of the old and the new. The fourth tip that I got for you is a little bit more difficult, obviously, and that's to learn some of the language before you go on vacation so that you can go to the spots that not everybody gets to go to. Now, if you get the chance like me, I was visiting a friend in China and he speaks a little bit of Chinese, and he also works with a lot of Chinese people, so we were able to kind of get to the spots that not everybody gets to go to. But I made a point of at least learning some Mandarin before I went over there so I could kind of claw and bite my way through the difficult language barrier that presents there. Languages are something of a hobby of mine, so it was a little bit fun to do that. But yeah, I would definitely suggest, if you actually want to get to the places that nobody else gets to see, learn some of the language, make an effort. Don't just use Google Translate every time, and don't just try and use an app the whole time. Make an effort to actually speak some of the language, because people are going to be more willing to kind of bring you into their world and show you some of the more interesting spots. I got to go and see the Three Gorges Dam in a city called Yichang, and that was one of the most interesting experiences of my life, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if we haven't been able to navigate some of the language in order to actually get there. So I was really lucky to be able to meet with a really cool driver who took us out to the Three Gorges Dam after dark. We were able to take some really cool pictures of the dam that I'm pretty sure not many people will ever get in their life. I'm really fascinated by the architecture of the Three Gorges Dam. I think it's a really cool project, very controversial as well, but it was something that I've always wanted to see, and I got to see it from a unique perspective. I got to see it at night, and that was a big experience for me that, you know, I'm going to treasure for a very long time. But because of the language barrier and the fact that we were able to kind of overcome that, I was able to get a good driver who was able to take us on kind of a special tour of the area, and that's sometimes one of the best ways to get really good pictures when you're on vacation in spots like that. Fifth tip that I got for you is to not just hit the spots that are on the top 10 travel lists. Now this is a little bit more obvious. I think there's billions and billions of pictures of the Eiffel Tower out there. I went and visited the Great Wall, but to be perfectly honest, I didn't take that many pictures when I was there, because I just wanted to kind of walk on it, see it, and just kind of experience it. Because I don't think there's many ways I was going to capture a picture that was more unique than the hundreds of thousands of other people who have gone there and taken pictures of it. In fact, my pictures were probably going to be worse, and so I might as well just enjoy my experience out there. Most of my time for photography was spent taking pictures of things that I didn't think anybody else was going to get pictures of. So I spend more of my time actually going to remote areas, or areas that were probably a lot less photographed, or had in fact never been photographed, and I focus my efforts on those. Sometimes when you go to those big sites, it's really hard to get photos that are unique and that haven't been done before, and part of the joy of photography is the artistry behind it and getting something unique every time. And so sometimes it's a good idea to not get too wrapped up in your photography when you're at those sites, because you can miss out on some of the cool stuff that's happening around you. So those are my 5 tips for just getting better vacation photos. Hope those are useful to you. I'm sure you've considered a lot of those things already, but yeah, it was just useful for me to navigate by those kinds of rules while I was in China. It was just cool to meet a lot of the Chinese people and be able to interact with them, and we went and sang some karaoke, because you got to sing some karaoke when you're in Beijing. So, you know, it was a really good experience just to meet some of the amazing people who were there and just see some of the different stuff that they have out there. You know, it's wild how different Beijing is, and like I say, I've been to big cities before, but all of them are so different. So it was great to experience the history. I love that place. Now, if you want to see some of the pictures, you can always check it out on Instagram. I don't have that many followers or anything on Instagram. I don't post regularly or anything like that, but I am going to be posting some of the pictures that I took in Beijing, and I got some really amazing ones by my own standards. So if you want to check those out, you can check them out on my Instagram. Anyways, thank you for watching. Hope this was useful to you. Hopefully you can use this to take some more amazing pictures when you're out on vacation. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.